feel about attending large group gatherings? I think we have people in two camps, either people that are super excited or the people who experience existential dread. And there's probably some people in the middle. But either way, I think we kind of get caught up in the routines and habits and patterns and the way we've always done things and haven't taken a moment to stop, take a step back, and see if there's some ways we could get some more meaning into our gatherings so we can all walk away feeling like we made wonderful use of our time and that we made real connections with the humans that we care about, or new ones at a fun party. The tips I'm going to offer work whether you are a host or you're an attendee, because you're probably going to be one or two of those things, or again, a mix of them at some point. The first tip I have to offer you is to show gratitude. Gratitude's a buzzword these days. I get that, but it's a great frequency to put out there in the world. So take a moment to thank the host wherever you're going, and not a just, hey, thanks for having me. Maybe pay them a nice compliment too. Like, hey, I noticed that you had wonderful decor up for the holiday. I noticed that and it made the place feel special. Thank you. Or I can see that you put some real thought into the meal that you prepared. Thank you for doing that. It makes me feel great to have a home cooked meal. And kind of make the gratitude about something that you appreciated. So if you're the host, you also have an opportunity to express gratitude. And I know sometimes we have different familial relationships. This is a way for you to connect with your people in your home. And maybe if you're looking to get a little bit more gratitude for what you're doing, you've got to give it out before you can get it back. As women, we're givers. And a lot of times, a lot of the responsibility falls on us around this holiday season. So if we want more of something, we have to kind of express what we want and what we need. And a great place to start is putting it out there first and letting your people know that you're grateful for them being there. My next tip revolves around connecting. How many events have you gone to where you got home and you're like, I don't even really know what I talked about with people. I got stuck in the corner with Joe somebody the whole time, or I was hoping to get around to my aunt I haven't seen in a while and it just didn't happen. We have to be intentional about how we communicate and who we communicate with at gatherings. So my challenge for you is to make a goal to connect with 3 people, whether you're the host or your guests. And if you don't know what to talk about, spoiler alert, people love to talk about themselves. So come prepared with some good questions, like maybe things other than how's your job? Maybe some questions that have some real thought. Like if it's a cousin that maybe you don't see all the time, like, hey, when we were kids, you were really into nature and hiking. Is that still something you're into? Or what do you kind of like to do in your free time? Or, hey, I know you started a small business last year. How is that going? Or are there some connections you're looking for? My brain always defaults to networking, but our families can be a great resource and a network for us, but we have to let people know what we want and what we need. Or, hey, tell me about the travel that you did this year. Tip, open-ended questions are always a great way to do that. And to make an effort to get around to multiple people so that you don't feel like the night went by in a flash. A lot of times, this was a tip I got for my wedding, was like every hour to have an alarm and to move and go do something different. And it made my wedding day more memorable. You can do that for other events too. So you're like, okay, I know from like 1 to 2, I might hang out in this corner. From 2 to 3, maybe I want to go spend some time with the little kids in the basement. Like, you need an energy boost or you need a morale boost this time of year, go hang out with some little kids playing. So, and that goes for you being the host too. As a host, I think we get so caught up in the dishes and making sure we have Tupperware for people to take things home and making sure grandma's comfortable that we don't get the time to connect, and we are just friggin' exhausted at the end of an event. So a way to fill your cup after you've put all this energy and effort into cleaning your house and to organizing and getting everyone there is to make sure that you've also gotten some real human connection as a way to fill your cup. All people need connections. We are a social species. It's actually how we survived, is we rely on each other. And today, when we have these phones, right? And there's hundreds or thousands of people we could be connected to at any moment, but we still feel so distant. So let's take advantage of those times when we are with people that we care about or new people, and really trying to kind of dig a little bit deeper, ask some good open-ended questions. And the value of a good, strong, hearty hug should not go underrated. And, of course, ask permission if people want a hug. But I was just at a gathering actually today, and two of my cousins gave me like the biggest, warmest hug, and it felt so good. I am lucky enough to have a wonderful husband, and we hug, but it was just a little bit of a different experience. So for you, that might be, give somebody an arm around the shoulder, or hold a little kid's hand, or give somebody that you haven't seen in a while a big hug, and don't miss the opportunity for real human connection. This is one of my favorite tips and something I never miss when I'm hosting a gathering or a party. I take a moment to bring everyone together at some point in the evening to address the specific purpose of why we've all gathered. I think sometimes we get caught up in the categories. It's a holiday party, it's a birthday party, it's an anniversary party, it's a networking event. And we think, okay, everyone knew what they were getting into, and that's enough. We don't really need to talk about the purpose. But when you address the purpose with your group, with your guests, you have an opportunity to bring an entire group of people together. Don't miss that opportunity, because that is one of the things that can make people feel like they're part of a group, or that they're seen, or that they're appreciated. A couple ways to do this. If you are the host, you can make a speech, and more than just, hey, thanks everybody for coming tonight, like, thank you for coming tonight. It's important that you were here because, or it's important that we all got together because. And taking that moment to really kind of create some real human connections. I know I've said that quite a bit, but after all, isn't that why we're gathering? Like, yeah, we go to eat good food. And yes, we go to like get gifts or raise money for, if we're going to like a fundraiser or a charity event. But ultimately, humans need each other, and we have to be intentional about bringing those moments together so that we don't feel like the night just kind of came and went. Another way you can do that is to ask people to share a story or share a moment, and go around and give everybody the floor. Or if your time's limited, maybe you have a giant 50 or 70 person family like mine, and maybe you say, we need to hear from 5 people. Tell us a story that you've never told the family before, or tell us about a childhood memory that you have from a similar event, and really asking questions about people instead of just about stuff or categories. Another thing you can do is ask people to turn to each other and have a conversation. Ask people to say, like, what was your favorite thing about this year? Or, what kind of resources are you looking for? What do you need? And giving people an opportunity and kind of forcing people together. Maybe they wouldn't have had that conversation before, but because you, as the host or as a person with a microphone, maybe even you're not the main host, you have an opportunity to do that and to get people to talk to each other about things that they might not normally connect about. Those are some ways where you can really make a memorable, special moment for that event or gathering. And you don't have to write a speech ahead of time, but just taking a moment to really think about why you're there instead of just like the category of why you're there. And the why you're there is normally around creating some kind of human connection. My next tip is a fun one. Anytime we can get people just a little bit out of their comfort zones or doing something just a little bit different, that kind of creates the opportunity to change up our dialogue, change up our conversations, and change behavior. So this might require a little bit of planning, but when you're sending out your invites, maybe create a rule. Give people a dress code. Maybe they only wear black, or tell them to wear a funny hat. Or maybe make categories of things that when people get there, say, can't talk about your dogs, can't talk about your lawn, can't talk about your kids. I don't know, but come up with some fun things that you want people to talk about or not talk about. Anytime you shake up the norm, you change the flow and the dynamic of an event or situation. So have fun and get creative, create some rules. This last tip is about simplicity. Many of our traditions revolving around family events and parties and gatherings are from sort of antiquated traditions, thinking about the way things should be or have to be, kind of thinking about how a table should be set, or we have to have these things from these food groups, or we have to have a water glass and a wine glass. I want you to throw all that stuff out the window, and I want you to do whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. If you're hosting a party, please clean your bathroom for people, give them something to eat off of, and give them some food. But other than that, kind of do what you want. One of the ways that I have really found that I'm able to connect more with my guests, or I'm able to have the time to facilitate some of those conversations or create some of those fun rules that I talked about, is by keeping the rest of the elements for the party, the sort of process stuff like decorations and food and what we're serving things on and things like that, keeping all those things a little bit more simple has made hosting events a lot more fun, because no one's going to notice if I made my salad dressing from scratch or if I bought it from the store. And no one's going to notice if you pick up macaroni from the deli or if you made it yourself. I mean, they might if you have a family recipe, but so what? If you don't have the traditional dish at your party or event, your family's gonna be fine, because the real reason for getting together is for those human connections. So if you can cut the trimmings, kind of cut the fluff from some of the other areas of your gatherings, take a little bit of the pressure off of you. If people normally go in your basement and you don't feel like cleaning it, say the basement's off limits. Or my family is huge. We host our Christmas at a hall. Nobody wants to have to prepare their house for 50 or 70 people. So find ways to keep things a little bit more simple, and you will definitely have more fun hosting your events, and you'll have more opportunity to make meaningful connections. Here's our wrap up. If you want to get more meaning out of your gatherings and feel like they were worth your time going, find some opportunities to create connections with other people at the party. Express gratitude to the hosts. And if you're the host, express gratitude for your guests for having taken the time to come to your place or to travel to where you're at. I challenge you to interact with 3 people at the party. And bonus, if they're people you don't normally talk to, by asking good, open-ended questions. People love to talk about themselves. You'll never run out of things to talk about. Take a moment to gather everyone at the party. Even if it's not at your house, this is a thing that you can ask the host, say, hey, I want to take a moment to bring the whole group together. And really that creates a moment where people feel like they're part of a community. You can make some fun rules. Tell people what to do or not to do. Create a dress code. Have fun with it. And lastly, keep things simple. Order the takeout. Use the paper dishware. And find ways to take a little bit of the pressure off of yourself. You don't always have to do things the way you've always done them. You always have options.